Brought to you by Hallow, the world's #1 prayer app.
Okay, if I go really hard in my career in one season, then I look up and I haven't talked to my friends in months, or I feel pretty disconnected in my marriage. And then if I switch gears to really focusing on my marriage, then it feels like my ability to be as proactive and creative in my work life or in my friendships, that tends to suffer.
What's up, Elizabeth?
So here's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out how to balance building a good marriage while also building meaningful friendships and relationships outside of my marriage. I really struggle to strike a balance, if that's even possible. And so I'm wondering if we can dig into that.
Well, balance is insane. So trying to achieve that is like a myth. It's like trying to catch a dragon. It's like not real. But I don't see these two things that you laid out as opposites. I see them as recursive. They work together. So tell me what you're struggling with on either side of the equation.
Yeah. I think what I'm struggling with is I feel like I'm always feeling guilty, like whichever direction I go. So and if I throw work in there too, it's really like trying to sort out, okay, if I go really hard in my career in one season, then I look up and I haven't talked to my friends in months. Or I feel pretty disconnected in my marriage. And then if I switch gears to really focusing on my marriage, then it feels like my ability to be as proactive and creative in my work life or in my friendships, that tends to suffer. And so I feel like I'm always spinning, trying to, organize my calendar and my weeks in such a way that everything is getting the right amount of time. That doesn't even include time for like me and myself. And I think what I tend to bump into is feeling like I'm not showing up to anything as much as I should be because my energy is split. Or if I'm really focused on something, I tend to feel a lot of guilt or sadness or like I'm failing and giving attention to the other things that also matter. And so I don't know if that's adding any clarity to it, but those are some of the feelings that come up as I'm trying to hold all of these different parts of my life.
Dude, my friend, how long have you been performing?
Oh, wow.
You are living
question.
everyone else's life across multiple fronts. I don't even know what it would be like for you to actually access what you really want. I think that might be a scary proposition for you. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
How long have you been singing and dancing for people to say that you're okay?
A long time. Probably, at least since I was a girl. So a long time. Yeah.
Tell me about it.
I guess I grew up in a home that felt pretty chaotic, a lot of love and a lot of chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And I think being excellent and doing well at things is kind of how I stood out and carved out a place for myself. Not only in my family, but also in school. It was like if I distinctly remember being younger and experiencing some bullying and thinking, well, I'll show you, like I'll be the best. And then it won't matter, that you're making fun of me about this or whatever. So, I'd say it's been a part of my life for a while.
That's so freaking exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
Because you just end up playing relational whack-a-mole and nobody ever turns and asks you how you're doing or what do you actually need? Or more importantly, what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess what I tell you is having great friendships aids and supports and tills the soil for an incredible marriage. And being anchored in with good friends and having a rock solid marriage anchors you in to allow you to go swan dive into your work. And being excellent at your work allows you to come home and celebrate and grieve when you don't do well and celebrate when you do well. And it provides the foundation for you to build a house on with food, right? And capital, like support. So all these things work together. They don't work they work together if you are actively creating the life that you and your husband want to live. They are at war with each other. If you're trying to make your friends happy, and you're trying to make your boss happy, and you're trying to make some idealized version of your dad, by the way, he's never going to call you. That call that finally that call will never come because it hasn't already. And you're trying to like keep your husband happy, right? And you're not burning the candle at both ends. You just set yourself on fire and covered yourself in wax. You are the candle.
Mm.
What precipitated this call?
I came off of pretty much many months of traveling a lot for work and had I think it was an anxiety attack coming off of all of that, and kind of looked up and realized like, oh, I'm pretty isolated and disconnected. Not as much from my husband because I see him every day, but also still from him.
Oh, sister, I have been dreadfully lonely sharing a bed with a woman that I know loves me.
Yeah.
Dreadfully lonely.
Yeah. And so it's like I woke up, I was like, oh, I feel really disconnected. So that was around the time when I called. And since I did call, like I've been trying to be more intentional, like, okay, let me actually go see my friends and tell them that I'm not okay, because I hadn't even opened up that part of my life for them, because I had just been like coming home, going to the airport, coming home, going to the airport. And so that I was holding all of that, and that's why I called.
How old are you?
34.
You have little ones?
No.
Do you want kids or no?
Yes.
Yes? Tell me about that journey.
Oh gosh, that's a great question. My husband and I haven't been on the same page about it for a few years. Okay. I think we're getting to be on the same page about it.
What does that mean? You're wearing him down?
Oh, no, okay. Thankfully. I tried that, and that was not successful. So, no, it's been a lot of addressing like the root issues in our relationship that created that disconnect in general. So we've been working on that really hard, and I do feel much better.
Okay.
But that's where we're at in that journey.
What's the plan?
What's the plan? Oh, that's really specific. We don't have a specific plan in place.
You've got to get one, and here's why. You're drowning in a sea of ambiguity. You always have been.
Mm.
Tell me if I'm wrong here. My guess is you're a good kid, and your house was chaotic, and this will probably ring true to you in some shape, form, or fashion. I don't know about the word trauma because it's kind of over dramatic, but I remember one of my professors told me that straight A's can be a trauma response too. That just because a kid is getting straight A's doesn't mean everything's going great. Sometimes it is their way that they keep their head above water so that some adult somewhere will see them and say, good job. Or at worst won't hit them, right? Or will ignore them and keep them a little bit safer. But like you mentioned, grades are a way for a kid without humongous muscles to bully other kids. I'll show you that I'm better than you.
Mm-hmm.
But all of that is a kid that's untethered, meaning doesn't know where the next secure attachment, the next secure sense of I'm loved and I have value and I have worth is coming from. And those folks grow up to be adults, and they start trying to clamor and get it everywhere. Do I get a certificate at work? And that feeling lasts as long as the certificate ceremony or the mass email that goes out to everybody or the raise. In fact, the raise doesn't even matter. It's the conversation on your annual review with your boss that says, hey, I'm giving you a 4.2% raise when the average was 3%. And I see the work that you're doing. You did a good job. Or your bonus is a little bit high, right? The feeling is gone before the deposit even hits your checking account. Mm-hmm. And then your husband, you want to make him happy, but also there's this frustration in your friends. You all want to go do things, but I'm tired. But it's this. I don't know how to win in this environment relationally because I'm trying to solve this internal gaping hole externally. Mm-hmm. And there's no specifics, and you're going to wake up and be 39 years old, and you'll realize I've lived somebody else's life. And that's when people wake up and burn everything to the ground. Meaning, and that's when they respond to the text from that really attractive, hilarious coworker for the first time. Mm-hmm. That's when they just snap at their spouse who's just putting along, or your sister or one of your girlfriends has a third kid, and you just snap.
Yeah.
Because you wake up and you're living somebody else's freaking life. Mm-hmm. And you're trying to manage everybody else instead of just asking yourself, what do I want? And what must be true? Mm-hmm. Does any of this ring a bell?
Yeah, it all rings a bell.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess what I would tell you is like you build a meaningful marriage. To me, of all the things that you mentioned, that's the most important thing.
Mhm.
And I know it's kind of countercultural, but you both looked at each other and said, "I do." And if you have, if the pillars that relationship is built on, if those are crumbling, or if they've been removed, or they were never there, or you think they're stronger, or whatever, that has to be addressed before any of the other stuff. Because you can make $1
Got it.
million, and if your marriage isn't good, the research tells me your life will suck.
Yeah.
And you can have the greatest friends in the world, but if you go home and you're not safe when you sleep in your own bed, your body will never let you sleep.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So how's your marriage for real?
Yeah.
I know that's not
it's
why you
been
called. How is it?
Yeah, it's been really hard.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, golly, it's like where to start. It can be like a saga, but I'd say we've been married 8 years.
Mhm.
The probably first one was a lot of fun. Probably it'll be 8 years in April, I should say.
Okay.
I would say year 2 through maybe a year ago, things were really, really tough. Just lots of really bad communication, poor conflict resolution. Really, at least like for myself, like had a really hard time asking for what I needed, him asking for what he needed. So it's just sometimes we look at each other and we're like, oh, if we'd had the skills we have now 6 years ago, we'd probably have a different relationship. But
Oh, dude, I think that every 3 years. Every 3 years, I'm like, oh my gosh, if I had known this, right? So, yeah, you're not crazy. Yeah, you're not crazy.
Okay. Yeah. So, it's like, it hasn't been like one thing. It's been like a lot of things and poor tools to navigate all of those things. And so, earlier this year, we had like a test separation of sorts. And then we came back together without a real plan. Then we're like, oh, we need a plan. And so we've been building an actual plan. I've learned a lot from you. And he and I have watched some of your videos together and things. And I don't feel like things feel so much better than they used to that I can't in good faith say like, oh, things are still really bad, because they're not. Like, I feel like we talk about everything. We have our weekly marriage meetings. Like, we're doing things we know we're supposed to do to like get on the same page. And based on those meetings, we are both feeling more connected and being more intentional. So things seem to me to be on a healing trajectory.
Very cool.
But there's still pain, of course, when I look back on a lot of the disconnection we've experienced.
Are there still secrets?
Not on my side. I don't think he has any, but he'd have to answer that.
Okay. You don't think so, or you don't? You know so?
I want to say like 90%. I know so.
Okay. I would start there. Because I want you to be able to jump up and down on the stability of this marriage. Because now y'all have, if there's no other secrets, there's nothing else out there for you to find. And it's weird if you've let stuff slide for 7 years, or if you've kind of been looked the other way for 7 years, or it's been fine for 8 years, like whatever. But that's the stuff that emerges in year 7 to 10 of a marriage that becomes these deal breakers. And the work y'all have done the last year, I am high-fiving you, sister. That is so rad that y'all have done that. And now I think you've patched the holes in the boat, so it's not sinking anymore.
Right.
And now you'll have to decide if y'all are going to build a new boat, because this one's not going to take you that much further. We all build a new boat together, and that just starts with no secrets. Lay it all out. Here's all of me. Do you still love me? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
So when it comes to balance is a myth, but deep, enriching relationships enrich every part of your life.
Yeah.
But it comes with you believing I'm not on a stage for everybody. Me and my husband have decided we're going to co-create a world together. Our friends will be a part of that. Some of them won't make that cut. Some of them will. Our jobs will interweave through that. But we're going to create this world together.
Yeah.
And then the pressure of having to balance everything, you just get off the little Amazon, that little half ball thing, the little balance stand that people at stand-up desks do at work when they're listening to their Enya and their essential oils or whatever they're doing. You know what I'm talking about? Those little balance ball things. Yeah, you just get off that and you stand on the ground.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
From this point forward, whenever you feel like you're trying to balance something, just close your eyes and consciously step off that little balancy thing.
Mm.
I'm not doing that. I'm not balancing. What's the next right move for me and my husband and for me and my family?
Yeah.
And that almost always, except in moments of safety, begins with truth. I'm going to tell you the truth. So, gosh, I'm trying to think of where to... Hang on the line here. I'm going to send you a copy of Building a Non-Anxious Life, and I want you and your husband to use that as a roadmap for what comes next. And the first step there of building a non-anxious life, the first step in the path is choosing reality. And there's a series of questions in the back of that first chapter that are like, all right, here we are. What's true? And use that as truth. And I'm going to send you a copy of Questions for Humans Intimacy Deck and the Questions for Humans Couples. And I want y'all just to begin learning, and this is going to sound crazy, enjoying each other again, becoming friends again. Y'all are doing the meetings. Y'all are fixing stuff. I want y'all to remember being friends together. And then talk about, hey, I want to go hang out with my friends. Good, thank God. I want to watch this stupid show. Hey, I don't like going to comedy clubs with you. I'd rather go to a jazz club. Well, can you go with your friends? Yes, okay, awesome. And we'll begin to build that life. I don't like traveling so much. Maybe we're going to look for a new job. Or I want to have a baby right now. And our conversations, and I'm not ready. I'm done with that conversation. I'm ready for this now. And we can start saying what we want and put that on the table. Download the Hallow app today and get 3 free months at hallow.com/Delony.